Okay, now on to the slideshow. Why I haven't streamed in a very long time, where I've been, and what I've been doing. Let me pull up presenter view. Slide 1 of 37. Starting with where I've been. I've been in and out of this military base right here, which is a military base in the capital of the province. I was doing something called mentoring, and it was between here and here, which is a place called Strathcona Park Lodge. It does not have internet, which is why I was out of the internet for so long. It does not have internet, and they produce their own power. They have a lake on the top of a mountain up here. It runs down into some generators and powers the place. This is where I was. Hello, Chris46. So yeah, I was cycling between here and there. Here, I was doing, they were like giving me training, and I was helping with intake from all of the other candidates that were going to be coming in. Then we would bus to this place where we would go on a bunch of activities. So what have I been doing there? Training and intake, and then basic canoeing. So there was basic and advanced, two separate ones. For basic, I was the mentor for one section, which is the goat. Is the canoeing photo a stock photo? It's a photo I took. What it was you go from the thing to a campsite, and then camp at that site overnight. Like you set up a tarp and whatnot, have food, and then you go to another campsite, camp there overnight, and then so I think you go to a pickup location. You get to a pickup site, and at that pickup site, it's like two buses that come and two different sections. So it was one section and two section. I was the mentor for one section, and my buddy Charles was the mentor for two section. So we would get swapped out with I think 6 and 7s, maybe, I don't know, something like that. So then they would swap into the boats and paddle back up the river or the lakes. It was actually two lakes. You go from one lake to another lake, and they basically take the reverse route of what we did. While we were out there, can I go to the next? How do I go to the next one? I saw a frog, which was cool. Oh yeah, you don't see it anymore. I watched it eat a bug. It was cool. I think it was an ant. There was an ant over here, and then the frog got it. So that was cool. I thought you guys would like that. One of the last things that I wanted to mention about basic, I got the Lord Strathcona medal, this is actually cool. This is you get nominated, and it's like I think one JCR or cadet per platoon / patrol can get it. So this one is cool, and it's also very cool because it's called Lord Strathcona, and I was at Strathcona Park. But that's also not the only there's a bunch of Strathconas. Strathcona is like a pretty popular thing amongst Canada, and if anyone wants to Google Agmina Dutchins, I don't know what that means. Then the last thing that we had to do, we did like a little skit, and then we had to wake up at 1 a.m. I didn't take pictures because I was tired as hell. Agmina Ducins leading the ranks. That's sick. Oh, I didn't know what that means. I'm gonna tell my dad. And we had to do a 1 a.m. wake up. So that night I had to make sure everybody was getting to sleep, not even just the ones from my section, because my section was actually pretty good. They got themselves packed and went to sleep. I got to sleep at around 12, and I woke up at around 1 a.m. So I was running on 1 hour of sleep, and I had to get all the JCRs up, and I had to make sure all their stuff was in the whale room, which is like the mess hall, but it's called the whale room because there's a giant whale skeleton in it. It's pretty cool. Moving on to that, though, I had to travel to advance. So the last bus leaves at 9, and as soon as the last bus leaves, I get in a van with 5 of the mentors, and we drive all the way back. They weren't gonna give us lunch. By the way, I didn't have breakfast. I had a yogurt tube for breakfast and a cheese string. They were planning to send us traveling all the way back for another round without giving us food or letting us out to have like a pee. Rip energy levels. Yeah, so we were about halfway, and there's a city around halfway called Nanaimo, and in Nanaimo I've been there before, so I know that there's a mall there. So I suggested to all the mentors, I was like, hey, there's a mall here, do I want to stop? And they're like, oh sure, but nobody was saying anything. So I just like yelled. I was at the very back of the van, and I yelled all the way up to the front, hey, can we stop at the mall? So we had 15 minutes to sprint to the food court, make our orders, run to the bathroom, come back and chug our food before getting back on the van to finish the rest of the trip. Yeah, it was a tight 15. After that 15-minute sprint, we got back in the bus we didn't even stop at we stopped at the military base, dropped off our bags, went to the washroom one last time, got back in the vans because we weren't allowed to sleep yet, and went to Hyro. So this is not me. This is actually, she was in my section. She was one of the people I was mentoring, but I think that's me up there. Who's grading your presentation? You are. Chat. So a lot of hours of being awake after that. Had to go and do a high ropes, and like this is my first time meeting all the advanced. Go and make a good first impression on all the JCRs for the rest of the week. Kind of sucked because I was drained as hell, and so were all the other mentors. So you strapped me into a harness, and I just jumped to a random spot, and I had to do it. I stretched these photos out out to make them look goofy, but it was a lot of fun. But I was tired as hell, so I wanted to go to sleep. We left the high ropes and we went to the barracks. So the advanced JCRs showed up in the barracks a day before the mentors did, because the mentors were still unloading all for the basic JCRs. So we get there and they had already settled into their barracks. And in the boys' barracks for advanced, I don't know why, that smelled like shit. This is what the barrack like. I was on the top bunk because there was only 4 bunks left. There was exactly enough boys for the barracks and there was 4 bunks left. It smelled like dookie. This side of the room smelled fine. That side of the room smelled bad. There was one kid there though on the very end of the hall who didn't shower and ripped Axe hairspray or whatever, body spray all over the place. So instead of showering, he would just Axe himself, which is friggin' disgusting. Because I'll tell you right now, if you use Axe, stop using Axe. So it was like this one kid who smelled like dookie and Axe spray. It was like sour. Nasty combo. It is a nasty combo. I almost passed out at school because of Axe body spray. Yeah, it's grody. So I got down from my bed. I made every single JCR in the entire barrack shower before we went to get in the bus the next morning. One kid broke his arm. It was pretty severe. It was like a full snap. You know how sometimes you get his was a full 2 pieces of bone. There was a point where he got up because he was on the ground, and I remember, I'm not joking, it was like, I broke it. And it was above the elbow too. It was in this spot. I'm disturbed thinking about that in my mind. It was bad, bro. Which is why I'm not gonna talk about it any longer. Instead, I'm gonna talk about what we did for advanced. So basically went canoeing, and advanced, we hiked up a mountain. It's very cool. Here's a picture of us hiking up a mountain, some waterfalls behind my camera. Waterfall. All right, the word hiked up a mountain. This is the mountain. It was actually quite gruesome. It's me, the mountain goat. This is me looking all profound. I didn't know I was taking a picture. Someone was taking a picture of me while I was like playing with my back pimple. I have some more photos of it. This is me picking a splinter out of my hand. This is the mountain view. This is us. This is glacier, snow, which is cool because I walked on it and I drank the water from it, and that was delicious. I'll be honest, the 2 instructors were making us put purification pills in it, but it made the water taste really gross. So I would palm it and pretend to put it in the thing. And so I did not purify my water. I palmed it and then pretended to and just put it in my pocket, and so now I just have some water purification pills. Final photo. This one is really cool. There's me walking way down there. There's a lake on the top of the mountain from melted glacier, which is sick. So here's glaciers again. The top of the mountain's right there. That is the end of it. And if you can see from my size, you could make that in like a 15-minute walk, maybe. Then I'm gonna quickly briefly talk about 1 versus 2 section. Basically, 1 section, 2 section. Usually whoever's in 1 section is kind of like the go. I was 1 section for basic. My tape color was red. I was 2 section for advanced, which made me a little bit upset. And then I realized I'm still the best. Their task, okay, as 1 section was to go from the start to campsite number 1 on the first day. Then on the second day, they go from campsite number 1 to campsite number 2. Then they set up at campsite number 2, then go up to a lake, go back down to campsite number 2, sleep there for the night, and then go home. Is that right? Something like that. Here's what us 2-sectioners did, right? So that lake is probably a quarter of the way up the mountain. Here's what us 2-sectioners did. We started at the start. We went all the way to the second campsite, so we skipped over the first campsite, went to the second. On the second day, climbed all the way to the top of the mountain, slept overnight. On the third day, hello stick, on the third day, we went down the mountain, turned up the path, went back up to the lake that 1 section went, then went down and met them at the second camp. So their whole objective for the entire 4-day hike was just to get to the lake. All right, we passed the lake, went to the top of the mountain, and then on the way back down, as like a side mission, went to the lake that their whole thing was about, then went down and met them. Because of all that, I was in a heated rivalry with the 1 section mentor. The end of the whole thing, I was awarded the Order of St. George Medal. It was so cool. The Order of St. George Medal you get for basically being a G. It was kind of sick, so now I have 2 medals. So I have the Lord Strathcona Medal, and I have the Order of St. George Medal. Hydrate, I will drink coffee. I don't care if it's almost 10. Thank you. 97 grade average slideshow. Thanks, bro. Anyways, we're gonna be moving on to the next section of